The NFL draft is just about 48 hours away. So, on today's episode, I want to give you my top 5 underrated prospects coming out of this year's NFL 2025 NFL draft. Y'all know I'm going to talk about it and break it down right after this.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. If y'all tuned in with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. But we're going to jump right into it. Ain't going to take too much of your time. Now, when we talk about those prospects that might be at the top of the list of the NFL draft, for sure, blue chippers and Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Mason Graham, players like that. We understand that. But if you're going around and you're following all these different mock drafts, you feel like there are some players that are starting to drop just a little bit too far for me. So that's why I put together a top 5 underrated prospect list for you all to enjoy today. At number 5, I got, coming out of Minnesota, Ariante Ursary, tackle out of Minnesota. My man's is a big fella. A big fella coming in at 6'6", 333 pounds. And for some reason, they got him slated to around a third round. But I very well believe that he can creep up into that second round for teams that need a little bit more stability on that offensive line. Now, he has a good first step. And throughout his collegiate career, has only given up 5 sacks. Only 5 sacks. Now, I will say he is not a finished product, hence why he is not a first-round selection, but I definitely believe he can be somewhere in that second round going to a team that may need to stabilize their offensive line. This big fella, he's going to need work on his anchor. He needs to work on his hand placement and get those hurry downs. Stay strong, big fella. Stay strong. And we did watch Ariante Ursary go against guys like Abdul Carter and absolutely get worked. But who didn't get worked by Abdul Carter, especially when you lining up against guys going one-on-one versus a talent like a Abdul Carter. And I will say, going on the one-on-one battles, Ariante, he need to go out there and be able to stay strong. It's too many times I see him getting pushed back off that bull rush. Too many times so I see where there are quicker rushers coming at him. He gotta adjust too much for me. So I think that with a little bit of coaching, my man's will be able to stay strong and be able to have himself a solid NFL career. Who knows what it'll come out of, but I believe he is one of the underrated prospects in this year's draft. At number 4, I got James Pierce Jr. coming out of Tennessee. For me, he was one of those guys I believe should be ranked currently higher than what he's currently at. You see him, you see teams or you see draft analysts pretty much place him down at the towards the back half of the first round, more so going into that second round. But me, I think this is a hell of a player. He coming in, he's a big fella, 6'5" and up there in weight. There's a guy, maybe some guys that might be running a certain type of defense, they might not be so high on him because of the weight aspect. But I do believe he's a hell of a pass rusher. This is a guy that played at Tennessee in the SEC conference. And I would say the man has a great first step. He has power. He has some really, really good pass rush moves that have helped elevate his game in the NFL, but he will absolutely need work in that run defense. Not a good first year for his collegiate career, but in 2023, 15 tackles for loss and 10 sacks. And then 2024, 13 tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks for the Tennessee Volunteers. So number 4 on the list, James Pierce Jr. for sure. Number 3 on my list is Kenneth Grant coming out of Michigan. This is a defensive tackle that lined up right next to Mason Graham, who is slated to be a top 5 selection in this year's draft, and rightfully so. But Kenneth Grant is a big fella himself who helped that Michigan defense be able to be as dominant as they was these last few years with his great play. This big fella, 6'3", 340 pounds, and is a monster in the run game. Now, there are some concerns when you talk about Kenneth Grant. He does need work on the hands placement. We do need faster hands, and we definitely don't need him being lackadaisical when it comes to rushing the passer or at least run defense. He has the tools to absolutely be dominant in the NFL, but he's gonna need some coaching. He needs to understand that at certain points of the game, or hell, throughout the entire game, there's no switch you should be flipping on and off. He definitely has the tools to go out there and be dominant. He needs to also just stay in attack mode, whether that's in the run game or whether that's in the pass rush game, to where he has to be effective. 2023, my man's Kenneth Grant put up 5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. And then in 2024, 7 tackles for loss for only 3 sacks. I definitely believe those are decent stats for a defensive tackle who is playing more of the nose. And he definitely just got to go out there and continue to receive some coaching and get his game together. Number 2 on my list is what I'm moving with now. I got Luther Burden III out of Missouri. Now, it's going to be a lot of people that talk about this wide receiver. This wide receiver is not one of the bigger wide receivers out there listed as 5'11" or 6 foot out there. And I understand why the drop off when it comes to where he's going to be going this year, simply because in 2023, he put up 86 receptions for 1,200 yards. But then his past season in 2024, only 61 receptions, 676 yards. But when you talk about Luther Burden, he is a guy that has exceptional route running ability that probably needed just a little bit of fine tuning. But I think he is way more ahead than some of the guys that are being placed ahead of him. And he is definitely one of those guys who I view kind of like a Deebo Samuel type of guy, but with better route running ability. Maybe a little lighter than Deebo, but you could absolutely work with him to help put on more pounds for you and be able to help you be able to utilize his skill set much better than what he was utilized in his last year in Missouri. This guy can work out of the backfield. You can use him in jet sweeps. He has a nice route tree that you can utilize his talents on, and he could definitely hit his head on the goalpost. So number 2 is Luther Burden. And then the number 1 underrated prospect for me is Kelvin Banks Jr. coming out of Texas. This is an offensive tackle. Look, he is a big fella up there, and there's a lot of concerns about, how would he necessarily fit with the team. But I would say that outside of a few things, he should be an all right selection for wherever he goes on his respective teams. Throughout his collegiate career, only 4 sacks given up. Now, I will say, when watching the film on Kelvin Banks Jr., this is a prospect that needs some work on his footwork and that needs some work on his hand placement, simply because if you watch him against the Georgia Bulldogs, when you had Mikael Williams and Jalen Walker attacking him, oh my God, did he struggle. He struggled. He struggled a lot. But I will say, with some coaching, you should be able to get him right. He has good feet. He has a nice anchor when he is able to get his hands on you. But he definitely needs to understand that you got to punch some of these guys and get them up off you before they get you. And you got to be able to bounce back when you do give up some type of advantage during the rush that he's going to be seeing every single play. Now, dude, I'm not saying this is a guy that's going to go out there and be a Hall of Fame caliber player, not even a Pro Bowl player, because we don't know how these prospects will absolutely pan out for said team. But we will see, with the right coaching, Kelvin Banks Jr. be an eventual starter for whatever NFL team that he goes to. So that's going to round up my top 5 of the most underrated prospects in this NFL draft. The top prospects in this NFL draft, the top 5, at least for me, is at number 5, Ariante Ursary coming out of Minnesota, James Pierce Jr. coming out of Tennessee, Luther Burden coming out of Mizzou, Kenneth Grant coming out of Michigan, and number 1, Kelvin Banks Jr. coming out of Texas. Let me know how y'all feeling about those underrated prospects. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And let me know, who do you feel is an underrated prospect in this whole entire draft that's coming up in just 48 hours. I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts. I'm interested to hear you guys' comments. Let's chop it up down below. And before you get up out of here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's see where we can go with this NFL conversation. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Wanted to give y'all one of those quick hitters, so let me know what you think about it. But that is it for me today. I appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace.